And what's DOD? You said Army DOD.
Yeah, Department of Defense.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Lots of acronyms. Thank you.
We did not discuss Roll Tide versus Buckeyes.
Yes, he was wearing scarlet and gray earlier today. We're working on that. So, all right.
Well, thank you very much, Senior Director, and welcome. Very much. Just one quick agenda change here. Under discussions, we're going to be moving number 2 to number 1 and number 1 to number 2. So with that, we'll turn for a strategic plan update.
Evening. I just have a brief update on the strategic plan. We did issue requests for proposals in March. We received 3 proposals back by the deadline in April. The committee consisted of Chief Spence, myself, Park Superintendent Zach Guthrie, Mayor Jadwin, and council declined to participation in that committee. And so we conducted interviews of 2 of the companies who submitted proposals back in May. And we, Senior Deputy Director Weibensinger and I are currently working with a selected vendor on finalizing the scope of work and the contract, and that also includes the timeline. We are working with that vendor to finalize the scope of work to include not only the strategic plan, but the economic development strategic update, as well as visioning as well. During the proposals that were received in the interviews, it became evident that we needed to do a visioning workshop as part of the strategic plan as well, so that we all were collective on the same vision, so we had the same vision to put the strategic plan in place. Once we finalize that scope of work and contract, we'll be under contract with the selected vendor, and then I'll be able to come back and present the schedule and all the related information from that vendor.
Thank you, Director. Any discussion or questions for the administration?
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Bowers.
Director Vollmer, thank you. The scope of work and the visioning and how you've assessed that, was that included in, have you established that yet? Did you establish that prior to submitting the RFP?
The scope of work for the strategic plan, which included some visioning, was issued back in March. The scope of work for that. We, under our procurement policy, we can obviously revise scopes of work, and so we did revise that scope of work to add the economic development update as well.
Will there be an opportunity to revise scope of work after presentation to council?
Not after we sign the contract, without a addition to the contract.
Do you have anything additional that you could share with us regarding the scope, the revised scope?
Yeah, we can send you the economic development portion. That's what was revised post what was published.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much, Director. All right, next up on our discussion list, new city flag proposal from the Gahanna Foundation.
Okay, well, I have Laura Watson as one of my team members here. She's on her way here. If you've got somebody else that you can put up, great. If not, I will start. But
We can,
she's on her way.
thank you, Mr. Spinelli. Without objection, move on to next item. Next up, we'll move to items from the Department of Engineering. Good evening, Director.
Good evening. So I have 3 items before you this evening. The first item is requesting an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a participation agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for urban paving project on Hamilton Road, State Route 317. This would be from our southern port limits of Hamilton Road to the Granville Street intersection, and then start again.
I think you're okay.
Then heading west on Granville Street to Lincoln Circle. As a part of the participation agreement, we would be responsible for 100% cost associated with ADA accommodations, wheelchair ramps, and 20% of the resurfacing efforts associated with the work. ODOT intends to further refine the program and have that out to bid spring of 2025.
Any discussion? Seeing none, on for first next week and then consent on the first?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Next item, please, Director.
Next item, Burns Scallow development. It is tributary to a riparian reserve drainage area that's owned, controlled by the city of Gahanna. That property its drainage is tributary to that reserve. As a part of the development, they're installing their retention, water quality, and its discharge is into the riparian reserve area. This easement grants them rights into our property to have the storm pipe, its head wall, and rock channel protection that would be under their maintenance and control through our property, just to discharge their drainage into that drainage reserve.
Any discussion on this item? All right, on for first next week and then consent on the first? All right. Next item, please.
And the third item is staff has been working with the Franklin County Engineers Office as it relates to trails, multimodal facilities throughout the region. One area that was identified and is identified within our CIP is trail connectivity along Clark State Road. We've got two areas, one down towards Hamilton Road, up to and around Theory, as well as the Headley-Hanna connection in partnership with
You're good.
in partnership with the county engineer's office. We're looking to evaluate the feasibility, overall alignment, understanding right-of-ways, and any particular alignments that may be more advantageous. So as we move forward with the project and evaluating it, we're looking to participate in the county's efforts with a local share of $25,000 as a part of that study. And so we're looking for a supplemental appropriation to cover those efforts.
Thank you, Director. Any discussion on this item?
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. McGregor.
I looked at the length of on a map, just eyeballing it, and it seems that we're paying a disproportionate amount of the $67,000 for the small amount that we have in that because they're talking about past Reynoldsburg, New Albany Road, and we only have from Theory to Hamilton and from Headley to Hanna, which is a very small part of that roadway, maybe 35
So
or
I guess
so percent.
there's different ways of looking at that. When you look at the subdivisions that otherwise feed into it and the population served in proximity, that's how we derived the cost affiliation to what was reasonable for the city to cover.
And I would add, I believe Senior Director Schultz calculated the mileage, and we did a calculation where we took the amounts that were within Gahanna versus the unincorporated portions of that and prorated the amount, and it was about 24,000. So it was very close to 25,000. And then, as Director Comlink said, when you factor in the number of neighborhoods that are impacted, we felt like that was a very fair amount.
Not sure I agree with that, but that's because it's the length of it there. Most of it is, the large majority of it is in Jefferson Township.
Kevin, I don't remember, if you remember the mileage, I think it was about,
I'll stumble on the
I
exact
know,
mileage, but it was, I think, did you say it was about 30 or 35% in
It seemed like
Gahanna?
we had 30 or 35%, which
Yeah.
is not as,
And that is about this, that is about the number that I came up with. I want to say 33%, 34%, something like that. I think the engineer's office, they had calculated in a different manner. They have some added services for understanding some drainage and some other issues in the unincorporated areas, and they felt that they also had come up with a number of about $25,000 as well. So between the population served, the mileage, and then how the county engineer's office did their estimate, we felt that 25,000 was a fair estimate as well. In having conversation with Director Farrell, who technically Tom had items coming, so we figured we would lump this all under his purview tonight. But please remember too that there's two CIP items of which we would have to do alignment for from Theory to Hamilton, and then also Hannah to Headley as two separate projects. And we think that we in studying those ourselves, we would spend around that same $25,000 in order to come up with alignments on our own as well. So, and this brings both of those, all three of those projects, if you would, into alignment, and then gets us a good coordinated effort for a trail system all the way from Jefferson Township all the way potentially to Hamilton Road, depending on how things shake out.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'll just say, very excited to see this coming forward. I recognize that this is just one step in a process. I appreciate everybody who came out and spoke. That seemed last year now, in favor of some sort of multi-use trail in the area. I know this will make many residents in Ward 4 in particular very, very happy. So I do appreciate the partnership with Engineer Foster and the team at the county. So thank you for moving this forward and doing the research on this. My gratitude to the administration on that. So on for first and then consent. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Spinelli, is the Gahanna Foundation all set?
Sure, we're going to sit here at the little table here.
You'll make sure turn the mic on. Director Schultz, if you can help us out, please.
I probably don't need a microphone myself. Okay.
It helps pick it up for folks who are streaming, so. Good evening.
Okay, are we set? We ready here? For everybody that doesn't know me by name or deed or reputation, my name's John Spinelli. I live at 97 Southwind Drive. My wife and I have moved to Gahanna. We'll be here 9 years come August 28th. There's my lovely wife there. She also happens to be the treasurer of the Gahanna Foundation. Sarah Davis, my other vice president, had a scheduling conflict and couldn't be here. As all of you got, I hope, my proposal that I sent out last Monday. It's something I've been thinking about since the day we moved here. Believe it or not, I don't know how it happens, but I'm a big flag guy. I have 61 flags flying at my house. 50 of them are little small state flags, countries and cities we've visited. And from the first time we moved here, I thought, Gahanna needs a new city flag. You have one behind council, you have one hanging on the flagpole. You don't have one flying at your senior center. You don't have one flying at the police department. I don't think you have any flying at any other facilities. I think it's the most important symbol that any city can have. So for those of you who knew what Make Gahanna Yours was, I was a part of that for several years at the beginning when Tom and Becky Nealand were in charge of that. I met some interesting people there. When they asked us, Make Gahanna Yours, what's your project? I said, I think Gahanna needs a new city flag. Because I saw it, I don't understand what it is. I think it's sort of dull and boring, my opinion. And so over the years, other projects and activities have taken place. And earlier this year, I thought, it's the 175th birthday of Gahanna, right? 1849 to 2024. And I thought, what a perfect year to come and propose that we have a new city flag. So as I was thinking about the project, I thought, I need some people to help me do this. And let me introduce Laura Watson. Lori is the proprietor of the Flag Lady Shop on North High Street. Your mom started it in what, 1980 or somewhere in there?
1980, yes.
And unfortunately, her mom passed away, what, a couple of years ago?
December 4th.
Oh, December 4th.
Yep.
So, well, tell them about the Flag Lady Shop.
Hi, it's very nice to be here. Yeah, we are 44 years old. We've helped other communities develop a flag. Worthington and Grove City come right out very quickly that we help them develop theirs. There's others as well. You could, and John has asked me to be a part of making the flags and producing them, which is something we do in our manufacturing right there on High Street. There's lots of ways you can do it. I think one of the best ways for you to go, and if you decide to take on this proposal, is flagladyusa.com. Gives you, we make all 88 counties of Ohio flags, and they're on our site, and many of the cities as well. And that can give you an idea of what looks good, what doesn't look good. If you decide you do want to update your flag in any way, we'd love to be a part of it in any way we can. And Gahanna has always been a nice customer of ours anyway. We have a lot of your folks that come down and visit. So it's nice to be before you, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
So let me continue. Earlier on this year, I recognized that June 14th is National Flag Day. And I thought, hey, my background is marketing, economic development, public relations, and I thought, wow, what a perfect time to announce that Gahanna is going to retire its flag, sort of decommission it like a battleship, and we can hang it the historical center, and you can say, hey, we're looking, the history is what it is. Tomorrow's the future. You want to be a city of the future. You're going to spend a whole bunch of money, move your city complex to a tech center drive there. Do you want to hang out a flag that nobody sees, that nobody knows about? Or do you want to hang a flag out that the entire community has had a chance to vote on and accept? So I thought, hey, last Monday I thought, throw the stone in the pond. Maybe it'll sink like a rock. Maybe it'll cause some ripples. Either way, I thought this is the time to have a discussion with you people because Nancy McGregor, your husband, Jim McGregor, who I first met when I was a reporter at the State House, and he was the new elected House representative from Gahanna, and I didn't know him, and I really didn't know much about Gahanna. I was the first one to do an interview of him. And then when we moved to Gahanna, it's like, oh, Jim McGregor, how you doing? So we've been in touch several times, and with the help of Jeremy Van Meter. I want to give you guys a shout out to Jeremy Van Meter. I was a reporter for 17 years. Public records requests are right up my alley. So Jeremy has been very, very helpful in producing a bunch of public records requests for me, and one of them was to do with city flags. So that's when I thought, oh, Gahanna really doesn't have much going in the way of city flags. I don't think it's on your website. I don't think anybody can buy a flag on your website. And I thought, what a perfect time to do this. This is the great time to do this. So Jeremy has helped me tremendously with producing some information that I think goes to us. And a couple of, a month ago or a month and a half ago, prior, you gave me a chance to come in and talk with you because there's a second component to our flag request. One of the things that Jeremy produced, and I think that's in all the links that you guys have. By the way, has everybody read the proposal I sent to Gahanna City Council? You have? Good, Michael. Very, very good. So included in that, in those links were the ordinance adopting that flag up there. You all know the history of the flag behind you, right? Jamil, you know it, sort of, maybe, sort of?
We do now.
Yeah.
It's to your proposal.
So the history, just for a little quick, condensed version, in 1984, when Nancy, when your husband was appointed mayor of Gahanna after some sort of incident involving the prior mayor?
He was elected, not appointed.
Well, no, he was appointed. Mayor John Breen was vacated his seat and he was appointed, then he was elected.
No, he was not.
Well, then I stand corrected. I will have another discussion with your husband because that's what he told me. Anyway, your husband was the mayor in March of 1984 who signed the ordinance to adopt that flag. That flag was designed, I think, by the secretary for the former mayor, John Breen, and a couple of other people. Two of those folks have passed away, I think. The other one's living out of state. And it was adopted because at the time, Mayor Buck Reinhardt, Mayor Dana G. Reinhardt, who was the Republican auditor of Franklin County, was elected mayor of Columbus. And he sent out a letter to, and I think you knew Dana, I believe. Yeah. Lori knew Dana. And he sent out a letter to the city saying, send me your city flag, we're going to fly it at city council. Gahanna didn't have one. Now you have one. And then there was I think you also have Jeremy sent you a link to the press release that was done at the time. So if you've read the proposal, you've read the ordinance, you've read the press release, you've got the background of how you've come to have this flag now. So we are proposing, the Gahanna Foundation, we think we want to deliver on a silver platter an amazing, awesome, and incredible opportunity to market your city, to create a new image for the future. And that was the proposal that we thought we wanted to do, because it's June 1st or whatever today is, June 8th or 9th, or half the year's over. We would love to have this process done by the end of the year. We propose to manage and run a flag design contest where everybody can submit a design and only the people in Gahanna will be able to vote on it. I heard a lot of talk about community building in last year's elections and transparency. Didn't really have any definition of what those meant, but having the entire community vote on a flag that it wants to fly for the future, we think that's a hugely important community engagement process. And for those of you that sort of know a little bit about the Gahanna Foundation, and you had a link to it, has everybody been to my website? Everybody? Yeah, right? Nancy, have you been to my website to look at it? Good. So you know that we're very much in the mode of civic engagement. The flag, we think, is a huge, simple, tailor-made, at-hand opportunity to engage the citizenry here. And so we would like to propose that you guys adopt that, because we're not going to run a project and we're not going to give away prize money to pick a flag that the city of Gahanna is not going to adopt. So that's why we're here to talk with you right now. And the second important part that I talked with Priya about was, once we do this, we are asking then the city of Gahanna to give us the license to sell that image on flags, on T-shirts, on hats, on banners, and Lori produces all this gear for us, and we will give the city of Gahanna a portion of the proceeds. It's not going to cost you a dime. We're going to run the whole thing. We will have a member of city council or the administration sitting on our panel. Right now I have myself, because I represent the foundation. I'm the voice and the spokesperson for the Gahanna Foundation. Lori is my flag expert. Ed Lentz, who you may know because he writes a weekly history column for the Columbus Dispatch. I've known Ed since 1974, when I was a young chairman of the Franklin Area Commission, and Ed was the archivist for pictures for the Ohio Historical Society. I asked Ed to be on the panel. He said yes. Ann Flaherty, who some of you know, Ann has been a part of my kitchen cabinet brain trust for years and years and years. She has agreed to be on the panel with me. And I asked Mr. McGregor, since he was the mayor that adopted the city flag, to help out. And he said he would, but only after council agrees to adopt the image. So I said, fair enough.
So, Mr.
Go ahead, Trenton.
Thank you.
And please talk up and into the microphone. I left my hearing aids at home today.
So thank you, Mr. Spinelli, and I think you've given us lots to think about.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that folks have time to ask any questions or offer any comments. One that I had right off the top was you mentioned allowing folks the opportunity to vote on the flag. And when you say vote on the flag via a Franklin County Board of Elections run, okay, what is the proposal?
Special website. If you've looked through the, I gave you maybe 5 or 6 articles about Toledo adopted a new flag 2 years ago. Minnesota just adopted a new state flag. Utah, Nevada, Calgary. I could have given you more articles about flags being redesigned, because there's sort of a little trend now going on. All of those who know Kevin Dingle, you know who Kevin is? Years ago, Kevin sent me a TED Talk, which I think I have a link to. TED Talk, city flags. All the old flags with oil derricks and farmers and all that stuff and dates, gone. Now it's new design. They're almost works of art. So in those articles, you can read about what some cities have done to help the voting. Some of them have basically created a special website, which we want to do. We want to do this in conjunction with the resources of the city of Gahanna. I don't know what your firepower is in terms of your social media and your communication with media and your ability to get the word out. So to the extent that you can help, Trenton, you can help us and open the voting to everybody that's a resident in Gahanna, right? One. And you can do this now by either, we want to open the design contest to everybody. We want to especially open it to kids. You know the Ohio flag there? You know who designed that? A 14-year-old kid from Lancaster. So we think kids graduating from Gahanna, Lincoln High School, they're coming out in the world. Unfortunately, only half of them registered to vote, and of the half that registered to vote, only 20%
So I do want to keep
vote.
us on topic, so I appreciate that. I'm going to see if there's any other questions on the
So do I
specific
get my
flag
answer?
proposal. Yes, sir, I do appreciate, so I want to see if there's any other questions or comments on the proposal itself. So, Ms. Jones.
Yeah. So question around, so you asked, do we know the history of the flag? And I will say, until you sent your information, I did not. So curious of how the foundation and/or the city can, if we have this new flag, we don't have a lot of knowledge or visibility of the current one, how will that be different with the new one? Have you? Not a lot of folks know about this flag.
Yeah.
How, if we have a new flag, is the Gahanna Foundation going to help to change that and increase visibility, increase awareness, knowledge of a new flag? Because we maybe haven't done a great job with this one. How do we change that? How will you change that with the
Easy.
new one?
We engage the entire media, the TV world. We send out a press release. We talk to every community group in Gahanna. We just talk about it. One. Two, the city through the CDB. The CDB gets a lot of money from you guys to promote Gahanna. They can promote a flag. You have a Chamber of Commerce here. By the way, I spent almost 10 years working in Chambers of Commerce. Who's been to the Short North? Only one of you. Only one of you. Well, when I was the Director of Neighborhood Business Relations for the Columbus Chamber of Commerce, I'm proud to say I led the charge to make the Short North what it is. Now it's a destination district for Columbus. I worked with all the neighborhood organizations then. But to answer your question specifically, the city of Gahanna, I think, has a bunch of social media groups. Are you guys on Twitter or X now? Lori, you have a Twitter handle?
The city of Gahanna has 12 different social media
12,
platforms.
very good. We're going to use all 12 of those to get out the word. There's Facebook. There's all kinds of ways that haven't been used with that flag to get the new flag out. And I think the news media will be excited beyond belief to say, hey, here's the city redesigning its flag. Why is that? Well, they're looking to their future. They want a new exciting image and they want the community to be a part of it. Lori, you were going to.
Well, what I would offer is that, for instance, Grove City and Worthington, and there's other communities that, Hilliard, that they actually have residents who are asking, will call us or go to the city to purchase. It's all going to be about the story. A flag tells a story. Gahanna's changed a lot. And whether or not, I think it's important to tell your story, and a flag tells a story and it celebrates, motivates, and rallies. And I think that's the message that you get out to your folks if you're ready for that next part. And I think that word of mouth will do it, but I think your corporations would love to have a Gahanna flag. They're here because they love your community, and I was not aware of how few are being done. But I just think if you have a strong design, and you introduce it, you get the community involved, I think you will be surprised how many people would like to honor the city that they live. I really believe that, and work.
And Jamil, to add on to what Lori said, wouldn't it be great if we had a ton of city flags flying at the Blues and Jazz Festival? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a ton of new city flags flying for the 4th of July parade? What if when Flag Day comes around, Gahanna can say, we have more community excitement because here's our new flag, and everybody has one on their porch. And I think the business community is the secret to all this. When they buy in,
So thank you, Mr.
and they put the
Spinelli.
flag
I'm
on
gonna-
their website, and they put it on printed stuff, Blue Agave puts it on their new menu.
Mr. Spinelli, thank you. Any other questions? I appreciate the enthusiasm. I absolutely
Trenton.
do. I love flags as well. I just want to make sure that we give plenty of time for questions or comments. Mr. Renner?
Thank you. Mr. Spinelli, thank you so much for what a provocative idea. But as I'm sitting here listening, and the Gahanna flag is something that I know very well about, but I've been here for a little bit. I think it's important that our historic symbols, and so for whatever reason, why it was created back in the 80s, we do have something, and the symbols, the 3 stars on a blue field, are very significant. Now, if we're doing a really bad job of telling people that, hey, by the way, we have a flag, I'm with you. Then let's put it, the current one, all over the place. Let's broadcast it. I'm not sure I hear a good why. You know, it's like when we talk to residents, I've not once heard anybody say anything about a flag. I certainly hear about roads, and I certainly hear about trails and everything else, but I never hear about the flag.
You answered your question. You don't hear anything because they don't know anything about it.
Okay, so then therefore we should actually just do a better job of broadcasting the current one.
You can do that.
Okay.
I'm saying a new flag is a new future. I'm a guy about the future, not the past.
I don't feel like this flag is actually, I mean, my comments for the record, I think the flag is very perfect for Gahanna.
Okay.
And so we should use it.
All right, thank you. I saw Ms. Bowers and then Mrs. McGregor.
Yeah, question for Ms. Watson. It's my understanding that typically a flag would not be trademarked or copyrighted, particularly our historic flags. Is that accurate?
I am, a public symbol, I really don't know that for sure. I can tell you the USA flag's not, the Ohio, so I don't know that for sure, but it is a symbol that is used to celebrate, rally, motivate, and all that stuff. So, I think that is not something that necessarily has to happen. I know that is what Mr. Spinelli is recommending, or, but no, I'm sure it's not, what do you want to, a law or, and I'm not, it would be up to you if you could trademark it. That's what it becomes.
So I appreciate you directing us to your website and see that you've got a couple dozen municipal flags that you sell. What's your process for stocking municipal flags in your store?
We stock, if the community purchases, we have them in stock. And Worthington and Grove City, Hilliard, those are the flags right now that I know we stock. Now, I've done everything in the business and toilets too, but I don't know my stock as well as I used to. So I will be on, but if it's on the website, it's available. And again, for stock for cities, they put in orders with us for as low as 6 flags, or, the Parks and Recreation says I need 3 3x5s or something like that. And then those orders are filled and dispersed. So we can stock them if the community wants us to. We can make them available. We print in-house on a wonderful piece of equipment we can sew. I will tell you, all my cities print. It knocks down the pricing. There's quantity breaks and things like that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll just mention, Mr. Spinelli, I very much appreciate your innovative spirit and your passion on various subjects. I also think that I share Mr. Renner's reflection that we could be doing a much better job at promoting the flag that we have. And very much appreciate the work that you did with Mr. Van Meter to pull some of our historical documents together. I wanted to note for the community that there is a press release from March 28th, 1984 that's uploaded into our materials here. The Gahanna flag consists of 3 stars on a blue background. The stars are emblematic of Gahanna's past, present, and future. The design is a variation on the 3-in-1 phrase contained in the city seal and a local saying which describes Gahanna as a community with a forward look and a backward glance. And then it goes on to describe what the 3 stars symbolize and how It symbolizes, as unified, most importantly, the indomitable spirit of Gahanna's citizens to strive for excellence and a quality of life equally available to all, regardless of age, race, gender, religious belief, or social status. And what an enduring message that we already have existing there. And so I would absolutely love the energy of the Gahanna Foundation to support the promotion of the flag that we have. If it does not appear to me that there is any intellectual property rights associated with the existing flag. And so would welcome an innovative and creative endeavor in promoting our existing flag.
Thank you, Ms. Bowers. So, Mrs. McGregor.
I appreciated reading the materials that you sent. I guess part of the history that I will say was it was for the centennial or the bicentennial, the flag was created, and I have no doubt there was a contest for that flag design. We've not been able to find out exactly when that happened. We were kind of we weren't looking back far enough when Jeremy and I looked for it before, but I think that that's what it was designed. And when Mayor Reinhardt asked for a flag, Jim asked Becky Breen, Isabel Sherwood, and Pat Froman to look into it and see what we had. And they found this flag that had been developed back then. And so they thought it looked good, and so they brought it to council because only council can adopt a new flag. And so they brought the ordinance forward for the adoption of the flag in 1984. Jim had been mayor for about 5 weeks, and so that's when the ordinance was adopted. So that's more of the history along the lines. I like the flag. It's I guess I didn't realize the significance until Mr. Spinelli sent the information, because we teach the kids from the historical side that Gahanna means 3 in 1, the 3 creeks. And I thought this is kind of like 3 stars in 1, so it has multiple meanings, the flag does, for not only the message that you read, but also historical and as far as the name of Gahanna. That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Oh, sorry, Ms. Padova. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Spinelli, for all of the information you provided with the flag. I think that you were able to highlight the past of our flag very well, and I, like many others, didn't really know what the 3 stars stood for. So I agree with President Bowers here that it is a message that is still true today and still meaningful. I also appreciate the TED Talk that you mentioned. I was watching that today, and they had 5 recommendations for redesigning a flag. Keep it simple, use meaningful symbolism, use 2 to 3 basic colors, no lettering or seals, and be distinctive. And in looking at those 5 criteria and our flag, I think that it does meet all of those. And I do think that the, I guess, bigger problem with our flag is not the design, but the recognition of it, people not recognizing it, not knowing it. So I do think that there could be some sort of campaign around bringing the story of our flag to light in our community with our residents, our companies, all of that. So I think that is definitely something that is worth bringing to our attention, and I appreciate you bringing this to us.
Any additional comments, questions? Mr. Schnetzer?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'll take a crack at it. I'm going to wax philosophical for a moment, but I hope that by the time I'm finished, this will make some sense. There's an apocryphal Chinese proverb that goes something like, "May you live in interesting times." And that word interesting is suggestive of troubling or uncertain times. Some people have said this phrase is more a curse than a proverb. I think few would argue that recent years do not fit this description of quote-unquote interesting. Since the great financial crisis of 2009, we've seen any number of extraordinary monetary policies enacted. Those policies have contributed to a rise in wealth inequality, growing populist sentiment, and ultimately in a remaking of the political order. Geopolitics has gone from a unipolar world with America at its center to a multipolar world in which American authority is being challenged. That shift has contributed to the worst inflation since the 1970s, and all of the aforementioned upheavals reflected in polling, which for the first time in modern American history, the current generation of parents believe that their children will be worse off than they were. What I've just described is ultimately a failure of institutions at the highest level. In the last 11 years, I've tried to carry out my duties here on council with the goal of making things better from the bottom up. Sadly, this is not a quick fix. It is instead something that takes a lifetime to accomplish. Doing so also requires an adherence to a set of classic values such as small L liberal ideas like liberty and justice for all, and the small L conservative ideas of honor and reverence for history, a recognition that those that have lived in the past weren't all dummies, but rather they had some pretty good ideas. In my review of the discussions surrounding the creation and adoption of the city's current flag, as well as the press release, I learned that not only does the flag implicitly aid in keeping some of those small c conservative ideas alive, but the press release explicitly mentioned those small L liberal ideas of liberty and justice for all. In closing, I recognize my remarks are probably more verbose than you are likely accustomed to hearing from me, but I felt it was important to share that the flag is a touchstone to our past, and our past is part of what makes us great. And in these most interesting times, having that anchor to our past or that emblem that represents our history is important and ought not be cast away and refashioned. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Schnetzer. Okay. Any further discussion? Madam Mayor?
Just briefly, I will echo, excuse me, what council has said. Thank you, Mr. Spinelli, for bringing this to the forefront. I actually was not aware of the press release from 1984, excuse me, and learned some history myself tonight. And I think right now, as we are celebrating Gahanna 175, it is the perfect time to share the history of what that flag represents, because it is very moving. And, excuse me, sorry. As Friday is Flag Day, and we have been doing Fun Fact Fridays in terms of Gahanna 175. We will certainly share the history, and I agree we could do a better job of promoting the flag that we have and what it stands for. So thank you. Appreciate the conversation and the dialogue.
Can I just note that the flag does fly at Hunter's Ridge Pool, because when I was there yesterday, it was an absolutely beautiful blue sky background, and our flag and the U.S. flag were flying at just a perfect, picture-perfect display. So I did note that and wanted to share that we do have it in a couple locations. But again, appreciate very much your passion and very much your innovation on this topic, and look forward to other ways to collaborate on bringing this sport to more people.
Ms. Doty had an additional comment.
A question, actually. I don't know how would one get a Gahanna flag? Is like,
You can be president of council and you get one.
do we?
You know, you can sort of put an order, we can talk about all that. I'm here to, I'm here to serve, I'm trying to serve John. The story behind the flag, it's just what it's all about. It tells a story, and certain things can be enhanced. But I understand where you're coming from, John. I think it's a fabulous opportunity for you to help just really promote this great city. And it is, well, well, you're right. But I love Gahanna, and I've got fond memories of my mom spending time here. And you've got a lot to be proud of. And I would get that flag out in front. And I would change some, I can tell you all kinds of ways I'd use that logo, because it is a good logo. I'm not going to do that tonight, though. So, go for it. You guys are doing a lot okay here. A lot right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Thank you,
It's a
Mr.
great-
Spinelli.
So let me add a couple closing remarks while I have all of your attention.
Is it on this subject?
Just a couple of minutes, another 60 seconds, right?
On the subject, please.
My
Mr.
first appearance before the committee of the whole. So, and this is to the mayor, on August 17th, from 4 to 8 p.m. at the official IRS address of the Gahanna Foundation, which is my house at 97 Southwind Drive. I think I gave Jeremy a copy of my foundation fundraiser that I'm combining with Kathy's 75th birthday. So if you don't like me or the foundation, chunk out $40, come have some hot dogs and play some games, and give $40 to my wife for spending 40 years with me. That's the first thing you could do. And Lori, if you would put that on the city's calendar, I just got the newsletter today, and I read through it, and I thought, this is the perfect place for you to have your people. Where's Mr. Glickman? Is he here somewhere? There he is back there. If you could put my fundraiser information on your calendar of events, can you do that?
I don't know that we can, because we do have parameters around what we do promote on
If you
there.
could do that, that would be wonderful. And to get your point, Marissa, if people would give me some money, maybe we can do some more promotion of the old city flag. But we have other projects that we're dealing with. We have another project called, we put in a grant for community grants, $9,700. This is another project that's come, and it's come before you, and maybe I'll have to show up again at another community of the whole to talk about that grant program. There were 20 grants submitted. You have $100,000 to give away. We're only asking for $9,700, and it's to hire kids, high school kids, to go knock on doors. Democracy makes a house call in Gahanna. Gahanna's voter turnout is pretty bad in our estimation. So that's the second thing. And on August 11th, Jamil, I'm going to be the host for the next Band Together Central Ohio. Because as you know, from looking at our website, we were one of the pioneer sponsors for Band Together Central Ohio, which is the open mic autism event that started at Sanctuary because, as some of you know, I was on the Sanctuary board for 6 years, and during that period, I led the charge to create the foundation to raise the money to light the bell tower. That separates Gahanna from every other community in Central Ohio, maybe in Ohio.
August 11th?
Right. Pardon?
The date was August 11th?
Yes, August 11th at Gatsby's.
Thank you very much,
2 to
Mr.
5 p.m.
Spinell.
So show up for that. Help me with the community grants. We'll be in touch with you for Democracy Challenge, which is a whole nother set of policies that we want you to respond to, that we think are free, easy, and will help increase voter registration and turnout in Gahanna. And that's it.
Thank you both very much. Thank you, Mr. Spinell. Thank you.
So please let everybody know the Gahanna Foundation lit the fire, Steve.
Thank you very much,
to
Mr.
promote your own
Spinelli.
flag.
Appreciate
Yes.
it. Next up, we've got items from council office. First up,
41.
yes, ordinance 41-2024. And for this, I will turn things over to Ms. Bowers.
Thank you so much. Just very briefly, this is back after first reading. We did discuss this amendment to the salary ordinance during an executive session on May 20th. Council staff salaries had not been audited for several years. In 2022, our prior clerk left largely due to competing salary in another community. With the management analyst position being reviewed and reworked and a new hire coming on board, it was necessary to review and adjust salaries. Earlier this year, I requested support from Senior Director Vollmer to review the clerk and deputy clerk salaries. This was in part due to publicly available information about clerk salaries in other communities. Director Vollmer assisted with connecting council office with Clemens Nelson, who the city uses for HR consulting. Clemens Nelson went through an extensive audit of our clerk's duties and benchmarked current hourly rates from around the region. The Clemens Nelson report is attached in the materials along with a MORPC salary survey. Clemens Nelson recommended deputy clerk be changed to a C16, currently at a C14 in our pay grade. I recommended setting the deputy clerk salary at step 3. Currently, the deputy clerk has been in a position for a little over a year. She has a master's degree in fine arts and has demonstrated herself to be a high-achieving professional, active in records management professional associations and presenting at the Nagara conference this year. For the clerk of council, what I looked at was and what the Clemens Nelson survey study also looked at was regional Central Ohio comparable rates. The Clemens Nelson report omitted the city of Columbus as being a statistical outlier, but Canal, Winchester, Grandview Heights, and Worthington were also statistical outliers. The average then of Delaware, Dublin, Grove City, Hilliard, New Albany, Pickerington, Upper Arlington, and Westerville resulted in a $45.54 $45.53 per hour. Currently, our clerk is at a C20 on the pay grade, with Mr. Van Meter now at a step 4, having just marked 2 years with the city. Clemens Nelson didn't necessarily recommend moving the classification, but to achieve uniformity with the chart based on the regional average, and due to him only having 2 years with the city, I did think it was appropriate that we move him back to step 3 and move the classification to C21. Mr. Van Meter also has a master's degree, performs professionally, and is active with the Ohio Municipal Clerks Association, currently serving on the executive committee of that organization. Director Vollmer redlined the salary ordinance consistent with with my recommendations to bring forward to council, which is what you had before you for first reading last week. This is scheduled for second reading and adoption on June 17th. After discussing with Director Vollmer, emergency was recommended to ensure a stable and harmonious work environment, and Director Vollmer has since confirmed that a supplemental appropriation will not be needed. Happy to take any questions, and I appreciate Director Vollmer staying tonight in case there were questions I was not prepared for.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bowers. Any discussion on this item? Mrs. McGregor?
I was in on the discussion, and I do not remember that this was going to be retroactive, and while I feel that Jeremy and Sophia do a wonderful job, I don't understand the logic of backdating it to January 1st.
It is not. Would you like to speak to that, Director Vollmer? Okay.
The effective date of the pay change would be the first full pay period after council votes. That's the same, if I would have brought forward a salary ordinance change and that affected other city employees, that's how we would do it as well. We wouldn't retroactive it because you would pass it on the day. Essentially, it wouldn't meet audit if we did that because you're going to pass it on, if you pass it on June, whatever Ms. Bowers just said, that would be the date forward that we could make pay changes.
Okay, that makes sense to me, but the ordinance says for the period January 1st to the end of the year. So,
Correct. The front page of the ordinance is typically never changed when we make the amended ordinances. So when we post the ordinance at the bottom, it'll say that it's been amended as of 6/17.
okay, all right, I didn't understand that. Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Good clarification. Thank you. Any other discussion on this item?
Okay.
I will note it the item did have a first reading, so.
If everyone's okay, yeah.
Yeah, if
consent.
everyone's okay with consent
Yeah.
on the 17th then? All right. Thank you very much, and thank you, Director. Next up, we have a resolution honoring Juneteenth and recognizing Keene Smith. And for this, I will turn things over to Ms. Jones.
Thank you. So yes, next Wednesday is Juneteenth, and so proposing and putting forth a resolution honoring that holiday, but also acknowledging the work of Gahanna resident Keene Smith, who is CEO of Women's Center for Economic Opportunity. And so given the spirit of Juneteenth, the liberation, empowerment for all, I thought it was a great opportunity to recognize the resident and the work that she does. So that is all that I have.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? All right. Well, thank you for leading this and putting this together. On for consent on the 17th then? All right, thank you. Anything else for the Committee of the Whole this evening? Seeing nothing further, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you, everybody.